Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today at the Hopenning, the place where hope is happening. And I am joined by my amazing co-host today, Fran. Fran is a 34-year-old. No, 34-year-old. Take it, Fran. She's been a teacher for 34 years, and she is retiring in 45 days. Did you say, Fran? So, doing absolutely amazing work with kids in Northern Alberta, Canada. And so she's also doing rapid transformational therapy part-time. She's a practitioner of that. And I am in Calgary, Alberta, and I do rapid transformational therapy full-time. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist as well. And we are here because we really felt the need more than a year ago to almost 2 years ago to bring hope to people. And we love it. We love the space we share with absolutely amazing guests, but also we love that we sometimes just can chat together and talk about our own experiences. And today we are talking about the power of your words. And both of us have a tremendous amount of personal experiences. Fran had one yesterday, I had one this morning, that we can share about what words can do if you take it personally. We work in this industry where every single day we work with people who are in so much pain and so much hurt because of the words of other people and sometimes their own. And a lot of times the things they say to themselves. So, Fran, you have the floor, my friend.
What a beautiful introduction, and it hit on so many points that we're going to talk about today. So yesterday, I'm at a funeral, and the funeral is for a not a close relative, but he wasn't a relative, and it's a small funeral, and he was 96, so he had a good long life, and his brother was over 90. And so I'm standing next to the brother at the very end of the funeral. It's just me and him. He says to me, Franny, I'm so glad you lost all that weight. So immediately I forgot everything that was going on around me. And all I could think about was, geez, how big was I? And then he mentioned about how I used to run with my dog and stuff. And all I could think about was, God, did I look that bad? Right? I mean, all I could think about was how how big I must have been that this 90-year-old or 90 plus year old man wouldn't decide to make a comment about it at his brother's funeral. And so all of these waves of emotion came over me because of one comment. And so Marina and I had already decided that we would talk about the power of words. And as the power of the universe tends to do, we always have, information to share about our own experiences with this.
Right.
And so it took me back a little bit. I started to really ruminate about it. And then that part of me, right? It's always a part of you, says to Franny, why do you let the the power of a 90 plus year old man try to ruin your day? Or even, I'm sure it wasn't intentional. I'm sure he thought it was a wonderful compliment, which it probably was. He was probably thinking it was a compliment. But that little girl in me, of course, the little girl in me who got teased as a small child of being the fatter one. I wasn't fat at all. But compared to my skinny sister, yeah, I was chubbier and healthier and all of the rest of that. So the power of words, Marina, can really do a number on us in
Right.
our own healing journey. We've been doing this healing journey now for a while, and we work with clients all the time who bring
Right.
up
Right.
things from their past that have wounded them and they continue to struggle with. And they have no idea why they struggle with this thing from the past until we bring it up in our therapy with them.
Mhm.
Gabor Mate, one of the leading experts in trauma, says trauma is not the event. It's not whatever happened in your past. The trauma is the wound that keeps on being opened, as in my wound that was opened from yesterday. So I think it's poignant to talk about the power of words and even our experiences and how we deal with them. So what do we do when we get triggered? Because it really is a trigger. This little old man did not intend to hurt my feelings. He didn't intend to re-wound me. He didn't intend to pull that old scab off of being not even overweight, but someone who felt not good enough.
Right. So to me, Fran, I'm listening to you, and my attention is not drawn to what the guy said yesterday. My attention is drawn to that inner child of you that was wounded when you were bullied because you were bigger than your older sister. I went through the same. I was the bigger one to my older sister, and that was a wound in me. But at what point can you get to that place where you love that chubbier little one so much that anybody can say anything that may trigger that, and all you can do is feel the love?
I think the number one thing is to remember that tiny child was beautiful, beautiful, just the way she was or he
Right,
was, depending
right,
on who we're talking to. Amazing, beautiful spirit,
mm,
amazing, beautiful human created in
right,
the image, right? Created
mm-hmm,
in the image of um, all that's good.
mm-hmm,
So that's number one. In our practice, what we do, you and I both, is to take our clients back, right, to that time in their life where, if in my case, it would be a time in my life where, my older siblings, when they were I don't call it bullying today. I don't call it bullying. I call it teasing, trying to get to me, trying to whatever, cause a reaction in me. It's just what kids do. Take my adult self back to where I was as that tiny child. Hold that tiny child, look at that tiny child, and tell them how beautiful they are, right? My adult self looks at my little girl, Franny, and tells them, you are perfect. You are perfect and you are perfectly loved. That's a breakthrough. So if we can do that with our tiny child inside of us, it's a first step. It's a first step. And when we get triggered like that, to find out, to go back, what is it that he said that
mm-hmm,
triggered me? It's my choice now, right? It's my choice how I'm going to take those words. Do I take those words and understand that he's an old man and maybe he's trying to make conversation with me and he doesn't quite know how to get it? That connection. So he's taking a connection of his past and bringing it now, and he doesn't know that in my little girl's mind that I'm being so hurt by it. He thinks he's connecting with me and making a compliment to me. So to remember that people are imperfect and people do not read our minds. And it's up to us how we
mm-hmm.
take those words in and change those words.
Yeah, to me, I find triggers very interesting, and I explain it a lot of times to clients. If that trigger yesterday was a seed that was sown, if that seed fell in infertile soil, it would not have grown. There would not have been an emotional response. But because of a previous decades old trauma or messaging that left a bit of a scar there, the seed that was planted yesterday was planted in fertile soil, in the exact soil for that to be a little bit of an emotional event. Now I know you, and I know over the years you've done a lot of work, and you allowed that for a moment, but it did not carry on. And we were talking before the recording. Um, it brings to mind two incidents in my life. One, I was a young teenager, 12, 13 years old, around there, when I was in class, I really struggled in school. I struggled to learn. I struggled with my self-image. I struggled with my self-beliefs. I struggled with my own inner thoughts. I struggled with a lot of things. I would take anything and everything that came my way as bullying, whether it was or whether it wasn't. And that's an important point. But I was in classes then. I mean, at that point in a child's life, in a girl's life, she's very aware of boys, of people, of how they see her, how they perceive her. And I was going to put something in the garbage can when the most popular boy in our class stood up and walked straight into me. And he screamed at me in front of the class and the teacher, "Get out of my way, stinky." And I cringed. I my beliefs, about myself. If I wasn't already that hurt child with absolutely no self-esteem, I would have probably told him to go do something to himself, if you get my drift. But I was so injured.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they know that I am, I'm not, I'm not great. They know that there's something wrong with me. My gosh. And now I smell, and I would cringe. I cannot even tell you how it made me feel. And it was something that stuck in my memory, in my subconscious mind for many, many years. And then this morning, it's my husband's birthday today, and we planned to stay. I'm going to do this recording, then I'm going to bake him a cake. Then tonight, we're taking the family out for dinner. We're in bed last night when he said to me, "You know what? I would really love it if you make me a brisket instead of going out to dinner." And I don't have a big enough brisket in my freezer to feed the whole family. That means early this morning, I need to go to the store to go get a brisket. And then he apologized, and he's very sweet, and he said, "It's not that I don't want to go for dinner. I don't care. We can go for dinner. But you know what? You have spoiled me so much with your cooking," which is great. But anyway, so I get up, get showered, rush out to the store. There's just about nobody there. And it's Costco. So most people in North America, or all people in North America, will know Costco. So fantastic. Get a parking right at the door, and I go in. I'm naturally a very fast walker. Wayne always complains, like, he loses me in the store all the time because he would be looking at something. When he looks up, I'm gone. And that's just my nature, and I love it. Anyway, I'm in the cooler room where the veggies and things are when I grab a packet of asparagus, and I have my buggy, and I turn around and I start to walk, and this guy comes very fast towards me, and I gave him this big smile, and he said to me, "You know, you're crazy." And I went like, and then within a split second, I changed my thinking. I said to myself, nothing to do with me. His words had nothing to do with me. I know who I am. I'm in a hurry, but I'm not crazy. I love me. I am. He could have told me, "You know, you stink," and I would have had the same reaction. So look at the difference between where my mindset was when I was about 13 years old and where it is where I am today. And all the work I've done through so long to get to the point where I am today. So Fran, tell me how.
Lots of self-talk, right? You just said it. The self-talk is so important, one way or the other. So if we were to talk about positive self-talk and negative self-talk, so in that situation where the man said, "You're crazy," so the words that automatically come through, if you had never done any work on yourself, on your own psyche, on your own past, and discovering everything that we have. And then there's still lots to discover, right? That's the beauty of it. If you had never done any work on it, you would have questioned, is it because I'm buying asparagus? Is that why I'm crazy? Is it because I'm in Costco first thing in the morning without anybody here? Is because I'm in this cold section of Costco and freezing to death there's a billion things that go through your mind about a comment like that. So if you hadn't done the work, you would have gone through a thousand different reasons why you could be crazy. And then all of that ruminating, all of that thinking, all of that would have been so distracting. Instead, you put a stop to it right then and there. You said, isn't that interesting? You became curious. Isn't that interesting that man would say that? I am so glad that I am doing just fine. I am so glad that I love myself. I am so glad that I've done my own work, and probably sent that man a blessing, right? Probably said,
Absolutely.
right,
Absolutely.
send him a blessing, wish him all the best, whether you do it, inside or outside. Have a wonderful day.
To
There's
me,
a
the
way to
thought that
change it,
crossed my mind about him was, wow, he must have had a difficult morning.
right?
And immediately I felt some empathy and understanding for him, because it's one thing to think it, it's a completely different thing to say it. And so the spoken word, and I mean, this is for those of us who have said things, and I have, in our lives that could be hurtful towards others. Even to my own kids when they were little, when I felt desperate, I would say things to them that I wish today I can take back. And the moment you speak that word, you cannot take it back.
Mm-hmm.
And words have energy, it has impact.
Mm-hmm.
But, sorry,
and that's what I was just going to say. Go ahead. Words have
no,
energy.
yeah, they
Words
do.
are a vessel of emotion.
Right.
So I can say the smallest thing. If you were to look at me and say, well, Fran, do you really think you're kind of a big deal? And then you might get all kinds of different
Yeah,
ideas in your
right,
head about
right.
how full
Yeah.
of myself I am or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of it is, it's a cup that holds enough coffee for an hour-long conversation with one of my best friends. That's the truth of it. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
was the gift, and it's a great cup. But the power of the written word, the power of the spoken word, there's so much.
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
there is 7 words on that cup, and yet it can be a whole story in your mind, and it can be a
Right.
whole different story in my
Mm-hmm.
mind, right? To be curious is number one. The part about I think that's super important is to think about the triggered parts of us, right? Because if your trigger word in back in the day was stinky or not being right or those kinds of trigger words, and mine are totally different. Mine have to do with weight, right? Mine have to do with being too fat. I mean, it's we're so triggered by something totally different. Whatever our personal hurts were from when, the fertile ground when we were little kids, right? And how it hurt us and how we continued to carry it from our childhood into our adulthood. And it's not, it can be parents unintentional or intentional, right? Unintentional. Parents or caregivers or teachers or grandparents or siblings or coworkers or bosses or whatever, whatever our outside influences were, continue to trigger us. And as when we start to learn what our triggers are, then we can deal with them. So I think that's very important, is
Yeah.
to know ourselves well.
There are
And it
so many anecdotes about this today, and people will say, well, use your hurt and your pain and your past as a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block. And that's something I'm quite passionate about, because we can be staying trapped in the hurt. We can stay trapped in the future. And your example was so beautiful because that scar has there's a little bit of it left because it happened. You cannot change the past, but you're not going to let it change your future. You're not going to go home now and eat a tub of ice cream because, oh my gosh, I'm still that chubby little girl. No, that's not who you are anymore. And for you to get to that point where I'm allowing this for a minute, and then I'm like, even though your thoughts went to, was I really that fat? Like, whatever it is, you allowed that for a minute. And that's important too. But then you moved on. And I am, you know, that I am extremely blessed and privileged to be in the preparation phase to go to a week-long retreat with Dr. Joe Dispenza. And my husband is going with me. And I cannot tell you how it is changing our lives, because instead of binge watching Netflix or anything else in the evenings, we have to do 2 courses, intensive and progressive. I've done the intensive before, but it was amazing to revisit that with Wayne. So every night there are 24 videos of about an hour to an hour and a half each. So we have enough time to do that. So every night, instead of watching regular TV, we do Joe Dispenza. And there's so many of these concepts that you and I apply every single day that's just been explained in a different way. And if you start to live on a vision of your future instead of the memory of the past, and I think both our examples are absolutely amazing, because if that memory of stinky in my past was still what I lived by, I would have been really hurt and broken now. And I had a similar incident a few weeks back, where, yeah, it's a different situation, but I had to think of that for a moment, and I couldn't believe that this person standing on the side of a road could do what he did to me. And then I had to, but it has nothing to do with me. I had to remind myself, and sometimes we have to do that until it becomes in nature. So who is my future? My future is the person who understands that words will always be there. And I cannot change what comes out of another person's mouth, but I can change my reaction. I can change my response.
Mm-hmm.
I can stop internalizing everything and just let it go.
The choice.
What a great word. What a great world.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
And to change, you can even change your past. You can change your past by looking at your past through your adult eyes at that situation to say, yes, those siblings teased me, but they didn't. I mean, they're just little kids. They're little kids. They're not the knowledge holders. They're not gurus or sages or anything else. They're just little kids who are looking at their sibling and wanting to have a little bit of fun, right? I can look at that situation and go, wow, I was healthy. I was a beautiful, healthy little girl. I was robust and healthy and strong, and I still am. And it could be that I'm robust and healthy and strong now because I was robust and healthy and strong then.
Now, that changed our perception, right?
Right? I mean, and perhaps, you know, that those events from my past set the course so that you and I are talking today and are able to help other people. Like when we think about how many people you and me combined, we have changed their lives, Marina, through what we do. My God, like the reviews, the responses, the things we have done to help people heal. It's a repercussion that will last forever.
Even this, Fran, even being here, having a space that is completely positive every day. It's just such a blessing.
It's a blessing. I mean, I think about it and I get goosebumps. If those events from the past had not happened, that our trajectory would have changed. It would have been different.
Right.
And we don't know where it would have gone, but it would not have been this. And just like you said, you have an incredibly blessed life, and I do too. And I know that my daughters have a better life, right?
Yeah.
And then I would have known to give them if I hadn't gone through the events of my past, because I may have parented them a little bit differently than my parents parented me because of the events of my past.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and they will
So
tell you this for sure, you
you
know,
broke the cycle.
I broke the cycle. I
Mhm.
broke the cycle, and there's never a day that went by that they didn't know that I loved them deeply.
So, Fran, you and I both doing the work that we do, um, being teased by a sibling or being called stinky by a hormonal high school, I don't even know what to call him, boy who really did not know any better. Um, that's really not in the scope of what we deal with regularly. That's actually not that big a deal. And I know there may be people listening today who has gone through much more severe traumas where the words were sometimes accompanied by abuse and abusive relationships and literally physical harm. And that's a completely different thing. So in those situations, how do you help people to overcome not just those the verbal inflictions, but the absolute deep emotional, physical, and spiritual scars?
Well, one thing we do is we can talk to the abuser, right? So under hypnotherapy, if we find that there is a situation in their lives, because it has come up in that situation, we actually talk to the abuser, and we allow that adult to either to say what they need to say to that abuser now, or to react in an appropriate way. And sometimes if it's appropriate, we allow our client to take the role of the abuser, and to talk to them back, to ask and then to answer. And it can be extremely powerful when the abuser actually tells
Mm-hmm.
the client, I am so sorry. I am so,
Yeah.
so sorry. That and that the words I am sorry, I apologize, they mean the world of difference.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're under hypnotherapy, or whether it's me and you talking, or whether it's a text message, to say to accept responsibility for what you do and say and act, and to tell them I am
Right.
so sorry. It's
Now,
incredibly powerful.
before that step, we also do the upgrade.
Mhm.
So, and I think that is my absolute favorite step in the therapy that we do, is to help that broken person see themselves through different eyes and upgrade them to the point where they cannot only give themselves compassion, but love and understanding as well, to the point where they then feel empowered, and you upgrade them literally, letting them feel that, I am not that 4-year-old little girl anymore. I am now this healthy, I survived. I'm this healthy 55-year-old who is thriving in everything else in my life. I can let that go. I can empower myself with my beliefs and my perceptions to the point where I can have in my subconscious mind this dialogue with a person who has hurt me. Sometimes if the injury was very severe, if the abuse was very severe, and if there's narcissistic abuse, I don't even let them have a dialogue. I let them have a monologue, because the freedom of expression that's been robbed of that person is sometimes so severe they never had the freedom to express themselves. So now if you upgrade them to the freedom to express themselves, and then you tell them, let it rip, let it go, everything that you've accumulated in yourself for decades, let it go, and to just sit back and watch them and watch them just let it go. And the tears and the release from telling these people what was in them all their lives has been just so tremendous.
Profound. The release of those words that have been held inside them, and often words held, well, words are emotions, they're vibrations, they're held inside the body, and they start attacking you, right? They start attacking your body parts, so that when you're older, our age, you end up with physical disabilities from holding that emotion in for so long. And part of the treatment that we do is actually releasing the emotion from that part of the body or in order to heal that part of the body. And sometimes it can be chronic. It can be a chronic cough, right? A chronic cough, or a certain pain in the back, or the knee that just doesn't move the way it should. Rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune diseases, it's a gambit, right, Marina? It's a gambit of where these held emotions that were attached to words or events are held within the body. Sometimes it's in the eyes, sometimes it's in the throat. It's incredible. Like every day that we do this work is a new experience for me. It's a new adventure. It's a learning curve. It's a privilege beyond all privileges to be able to have someone share with us stories of their past, of their hurt, and for us to be able to participate in helping them heal.
It's a tremendous thing to see people transforming. It is, I mean, talk about giving hope. It is just absolutely amazing to see the possibility in there and to get them to cross over to that field of possibilities instead of, again, the memory of the past that can sometimes keep you trapped inside your own head. Well, what if my father said this to me when I was 5 years old? What if somebody told me I'm lazy? What if somebody told me I'm slow? What if somebody told me you will never amount to anything? What if, a lot of our clients build their entire life story around that. Change the story.
Change the story. Change the ending, right?
Yeah, that's why I love to focus a lot on what is your future self? What does your future self look like? If you have to imagine who your future self is, who is it?
Yeah.
And if they can, in that pure positive energy, if they can build the story about their future self and then start to repeat that positive affirmations, like exactly what I did in the store this morning, because what that guy said does not match me, does not match my future self. It does not match this amazing day of celebration that I'm going to have the moment I say goodbye to you. It does not match that. I'm not going to let him steal it from me because that's not me.
Yeah. And it's interesting. We all have a different past and we all have a different future, but the words that we use right here and now are powerful. And the words that we repeat in our minds are powerful. So we need to change those words. We need to. And one last thing that I'd like to talk to you a little bit about is the artificial intelligence. It's becoming a big deal. It's becoming a big deal. These what do they call it? Chat GPTs.
I had an accidental encounter with one this week.
They're super interesting and quite, the future of education. What is the future of education if all you need to do is talk to your chatbot and you ask them, write me a 1,000-word essay on a certain topic, write a 1,000-word essay on the power of words. And then your chatbot will actually, quite well. They do it quite well, but there's one thing that they just don't get.
What is that?
Emotion.
Absolutely.
They don't get the emotion in it. They don't get the storytelling. They don't connect the emotion to the beautiful summary essay.
So to me, it's robbing people of their freedom to express themselves again.
Oh, I love that. I never even thought of that, Marina.
I had an accidental encounter with it. I had a follow-up meeting with a client this week, and I saw on Zoom on the side, there are all these apps, and accidentally, I saw there's one that will transcribe the meeting notes for you. And I didn't think twice, and I was waiting for it to come on, and I clicked it. And minutes after, 2 minutes after our meeting ended, thank goodness, it was not a therapy session. It was just a follow-up meeting. Within minutes of me saying goodbye to her, I walked down to my kitchen and I got an email. And it's from this thing. And it congratulated me on my first artificial intelligence meeting notes. And I'm like, what just happened? And I looked at it. I actually kept it. And it gave me a synopsis, as if you are in a business meeting and somebody's taking notes. It gave me a synopsis of my meeting with this lady, quoting a book I quoted, saying what her response was, and it was not word for word. And then it said below that you can now access the transcripts of the meeting. And that was just a synopsis. And I thought to myself, wow, if I did not work with such sensitive topics and confidentiality was not so high up on my radar, I would probably use this. I made the client aware and she was fine with that. And I immediately deleted that app. I don't want that. No, thank you. No, thank you. But I can see that if I was in a different sector, that maybe, like when I used to work with seniors a lot, I would have a lot of meeting with nonprofit organizations, government, city organizations that gave us funding and things like that. I can see that being quite handy to give a synopsis of that. However, there's one thing I don't trust: confidentiality.
Yes. Yes. And there's nothing like the power of human connection.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I suppose this the chat artificial intelligence will be a big hit, right? It'll be wonderful. It'll be, for some, like you said, for certain occupations, for certain things, it'll be a real breakthrough. It'll take so much time off of having to do things. But there is nothing like the power of human connection and human creativity. There's nothing like the power of human creativity as well, because no matter what happens in our sessions, no two sessions are ever the same, ever.
No.
And the creativity that we have that's already inspired, it's inspired creativity, and I believe it's God-given to know what to do next in a client session.
Right.
That intuition, there's nothing, there will never be an artificial intelligence that can give us that intuition of what this client needs. And that's the beauty of it as well. So the power of words, Marina.
So I have to be honest, though, Fran, there was a minute or so that I thought, wow, this could be extremely helpful. I do consultation work for a weight loss clinic in the UK, and I do sessions for their clients. And every time after the session, I give feedback. If I leave it until the evening, it's hard for me to get that essence of the meeting back, and so I have to make time to just do it right away after the session. It's quite time consuming. I keep very good notes during the session, again encrypted, stored very safely where AI cannot get hold of it, I hope. But at the end of the day, I was like, oh my gosh, this would be, I know it's confidential, if I know that it's not going to be out there for the world to see, especially because I use the client's name when I do the feedback, this would be quite helpful. It would save me time, because honestly, it took me no time to get a synopsis for that meeting. Can you imagine? And then I thought, there's just no way. There's just no way I trust it right now. And then imagine if you want to create a post, say for the opening, that's supposed to inspire somebody, and it comes really from your heart and from your intuition. I love inspired work, and I know that's part of your business name,
Yes.
because inspired to me is it's from spirit, in spirit. It's just letting that higher entity that's out there working through you. I love it. I absolutely love it. So when you sacrifice that to some intelligence that doesn't have it, and you say, for example, spit out an inspirational quote every day for the opening, I think we're going to lose something.
Yes. So let's stay real.
Absolutely.
Stay real.
That's
Well,
my promise.
yeah. So any last views on the power of words, Marina?
Fran, words will always be there, whether it's from ourselves or from others. So make sure what you say to yourself is always positive. It's always talking to your future self, talking to your possibilities, talking hope. And then what you cannot control, let it go. It's nothing to do with you.
And as I was preparing for the talk today, I want a question. So does it have to be a spoken word or a written word? And then Helen Keller came to mind, right? Helen Keller was on mute and she couldn't hear, right?
Couldn't
And
see either. She had it
couldn't
all.
see, she had none of that, right? And while she was still in the darkness, it was just, she was out of control. And then as soon as Annie Sullivan, her teacher, did the little thing in her hand for the word water, it changed her life. So it didn't need to be a spoken word or a written word, or it didn't need to be. It just needed to be the human touch. Uh, and her life just exploded into color and beauty and all the wonderful things that Helen Keller ended up doing in her lifetime, right? So the power of words goes way deeper than spoken or written. It goes right into the soul, I guess, right? It goes right into the soul, and the impact of one word. Where did that go? It went on forever.
Right.
She'll be known forever.
Fantastic.
So thank you, Marina.
Well, thank you, Fran, and thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We hope that we could inspire you and bring you hope. And we will see you next time.
Talk soon.